Hello, I'm Mark Langham and I am the writer of Big Crow. Big Crow, well, I first heard the story about 25 years ago. It was told to me by a man who was actually a character in one of the plays. When he told me the story, he was quite an elderly man. He was in his 80s and it was only a couple of years before he died, Tommy. He was the eldest of 12 children and they essentially had a single mother. And his job at the end of each day was to go out and scrounge out whatever food the merchants were giving away. So butchers, rather than throw meat away, would sell it to you for a couple of coppers, or rotten vegetables could be had quite cheaply, certainly stale bread. At the end of the day, all these mouths to feed, Tommy was charged with going out and getting all this stuff. One day he and his cousin Albert were walking down by the docks in London, in Tilbury, and somebody leaned off the side of a ship and said, "Mate, do you want to go to Australia?" And they kind of went, "Yeah, why not?" So they got on the ship, they sailed to Australia. When they got off the ship in Australia, there was a whole slew of people in there in the same situation as they were, and they were picked up by a farmer and taken out to a station in the middle of nowhere. It took 3 or 4 days to actually get to the station. It was so huge. Part of the deal was that the farmer had to feed them. This particular farmer had a strange idea of feeding them. He used to give them a bag of flour every week, and they were supposed to do that whatever the hell they could. They lost patience with this, and one day when he came in to drop off the flour, they grabbed him, they put a rope around his neck, and they threatened to hang him unless he took them back to town and subsequently back to England. That much of it is a true story, and that much is reflected in the play. The rest of the play is kind of where I've taken that story from that point. As I said, I was first told the true part of the story, as it were, over 25 years or so ago. But I didn't know what to do with it, didn't know whether it was going to be a play. I didn't know what it was, and in those days I really wasn't much of a writer. And then it came to me maybe 3-4 years ago that the whole piece was about strangers. People being in places that they didn't belong. People living lives that they didn't want to leaving lives they did not want to lead, which is easy for me to say. So I wanted to explore that theme of strangers in your own land. Of course, by definition, all the people in this play are not indigenous to this land. I'm very well aware of that. And I wanted to see what that looked like on a slightly larger canvas. All these people have regrets in this play. It seems that Tommy and the character of his cousin Albie, it seems that they are the catalyst for dragging all this regret to the surface. And when I had that sort of notion that they're all strangers, they're all lost, it started to work for me. I deal with plays. That's the medium that I write in. Plays are, by definition, performance pieces. They're not pieces of prose. I can't write prose. But I do understand how performance works, being an actor myself. The performance is 50% of the project. I can write down these words, but if they stay on the page, it's pretty pointless. The performance is essential. You only know what you've got when actors stand it up and they put life into it and they breathe some kind of magic over it and it becomes something other than itself. I've had the experience both ways. I've written pieces that I thought were going to save theatre, if theatre needs saving. And then you have them read to you by a couple of actors and you think it's utter garbage. Just now and again, the other thing happens as well, where you've written something which is kind of like, "Oh, I'll fix that later." Then you hear it and it's not that bad. This play's it's been a great experience for me to see it dealt with by people who know what they're doing. And the characters have taken on a life of their own that is different to the one I had in my head, which is great fun. Well, what's it been working with Brave New Word? Well, my lawyer said it was either this or spend 6 months in jail. So I'm fairly sure I took the wrong option. It's been great. It was a huge thrill when they called me and said they wanted to do my play. I couldn't imagine that this was ever going to happen, but it did, and I was really pleased. Again, they've been supportive. They've found a fantastic cast. They've looked after me. They've made me feel welcome, and they support Australian writers. They're true to their word. They want people to write stories that belong to this country. That's to be admired and it's to be fostered. So, yay.